we are returning from executive session. If you will please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move into our consent agenda. We have the school committee minutes of February 25th. I believe all the committee members had those emailed to them to review.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes of February 25th as presented in the packet.
I'll second, but I have amendments.
Yeah, during discussion.
Yeah, during discussion, so I'll second that motion.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So,
Open for discussion.
Under continued business, it reads that Ms. Lathrop presented the budget directives and budget options, including the guidance budget, level service budget, blue budget, and a new budget proposal of 68.2. But that actually was not what was presented. It was a new budget proposal, was also called the purple budget, and it was for 69.2 million. So that's the first edit.
Yep.
And then, when I made my motion later down, then when you read down to the boldface, it says Mr. Brown made a motion to advance a budget of 68.2 to the town. That's accurate, but it's just, I would think it would be instructive to note that that's about 500K more than the blue budget was. I don't know that I stated it that way,
You
but
didn't.
that's, so.
Yeah, I don't think it
we
was
can't-
stated
So
that
I guess
way.
we don't change it, but it's, but we certainly should make the earlier change to make it clear that.
Yeah, we can make the earlier change to make
The
that
purple
clear.
budget was for 69.2.
And Madam Chair, in that same bold section, third line, it should say, instead of saying level services, it should say purple budget.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll make those changes.
Yes. I notified Michelle earlier.
Ah,
That's just a purple, yeah.
Yep.
okay. Are we ready to vote?
So does the vote?
Do we need
as
to,
amended?
let's,
As amended.
as amended?
Okay.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Moskovich? Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Cormier? And I vote, oh, I'm sorry, I should let you vote. I told you I must have, okay, and I vote yes. For consent. Oh.
If you're willing to.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we have one other item that we need a consent on.
Yep.
Ms. Lathrop.
This we just received. It's a donation from Watts Water Technology. I'm going to read the letter to you. It says, "Dear Committee, Watts Water Technology Incorporated is pleased to submit for your approval a request to make a donation in the amount of $10,000 to support the North Andover High School robotics team in its upcoming trip to the VEX Robotics World Championship in Dallas, Texas in May 2025. Watts was founded by Joseph E. Watts in 1874 in Lawrence as a small machine shop supplying parts to New England textile mills. Since then, Watts has grown into a global manufacturer and become one of the world's leading providers of water technologies and solutions that manage and conserve the flow of fluids and energy into, through, and out of buildings in commercial and residential markets. At Watts, we have integrated robotics into our manufacturing capabilities, including at our state-of-the-art lead-free foundry in Franklin, New Hampshire. Our machining operations feature computer-controlled machine tools and high-speed chunking machines with robotic assembly capability. Watts is proud to sponsor continued advancements in robotics in our local community by sponsoring the accomplished group of talented STEM students of North Andover High School robotics team. Sincerely, Seth M. Kipp, Senior Assistant General Counsel, on behalf of the Watts Committee. Seth couldn't be here tonight, so he asked that we read that and that you accept the donation of $10,000. And I will note that last year it was $5,000, and this year they have increased it to $10,000.
I was going to say, this is a very generous donation that we are very much appreciative of. So thank you to Watts Water Technologies.
So I'd like to move that we accept that donation, and I'll point out that as a robotics coach in another district, it's an awesome gesture of support, and we should be really happy that we got it.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further comment? All right, let's vote. Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Moskovich? Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Comier?
Yes.
And I vote yes. I do want to note, I'm going to make one change to the agenda. We just need to take something out of order. Item number 8, item number 9, the new business is going to be moved up to come after recognitions. So just when we get to that portion, we're going to make a little bit of a shift to allow our high school staffs to speak about that and not have to wait till the end. Moving on in the agenda, we have our student representative report. We have Ms. Barrios and Ms. Roberts. Welcome.
Sorry. Our Drama Guild competed at Drama Fest semifinals this past weekend. Although we did not move on, we did receive a couple awards. Alex Phillips received an award for acting excellence and costumes for technical excellence. Victoria Alegria, Ali Roberts, and Emma Buchanan received that award. Words today. Spring sports have begun. Cell phone surveys went out to faculty, students, and family, and the cell phone committee will be meeting soon to look at results and discuss how to move forward. The Scarlet Night, formerly Mr. North Andover, happened last Friday, March 14th. Our new Scarlet Knight is Nate Sullivan, and his sponsor was James Yonchak. Coming in second was Riley Knapp and Reese, and coming in third was Lizzie Hawes and Kiana Stetson. The NAMS 8th grade play is tomorrow and Saturday. Geography night is the 25th at NAMS from 5:30 to 7:30. 10th grade ELA MCAS is next week on the 25th and 26th. The NHS has blood drive info available during lunch. People who are 16 can participate with parental consent, and people who are 17 or older can participate without parental consent. The writing club members are working on poems for the Anne Bradstreet Poetry Contest. And MSA groups of North Andover and Andover hosted a meaningful and welcoming Ramadan iftar to break their fast at the Andover High School.
My turn. So this week on Tuesday and Wednesday, there were 6 blocks of learning walks, observing, and then debriefing on wins and losses in focus areas and areas of growth. So those were teachers walking around. Mock trial made it to the Final Four and unfortunately did not make it further. However, this is the furthest it's been in 4 years, and that's as long as it's been around. The Future Medical Professionals Club had a translational scientist. They came in last Wednesday, and according to Louine, they essentially take research and help it become medicine. Relay for Life is happening next week, and it is a fundraiser with games, food, and an opportunity to raise money for cancer by walking around with your friends or family on the track in the gym. Last week was Nights Care Week, where students participated in days to foster a better school culture, including days like Nights Care about inclusivity and Nights Care about each other. Our school had 12 students attend, plus Harper as a state delegate she's on the state board of Massachusetts Association of Student Councils up in Hyannis. We had 3 days of workshops, listening to speakers, and meeting people from around the state, while also attending an annual banquet and dance. By the end of the conference, we received an award for being a Gold Council of Excellence, and I am now a state delegate. The Youth Risk Behavior Survey went out last Wednesday, and the Students versus Teachers basketball game happened at the pep rally. It was a close game with the teachers winning by 2 in the end.
That feels like a conspiracy.
Did they let him win?
As far as I know, no.
All right. Thank you very much. Does anybody want to add any comments?
Congratulations, Madam Delegate.
Thank you.
Is that the right term?
I
Delegate?
have no idea.
All right, I appreciate you coming and giving us all these updates. All right, we're going to move on into public comment. As a reminder, for public comment, all comments should be directed to the chair. You'll have 3 minutes. Mr. Hicks will be keeping the time for that. Please start out with your name and address, and we will open it up for the next 15 minutes. I will note too, we did add an additional public comment at the end as well. So we put in 2 for this meeting. So it is open.
Sean Dunn, Berry Street. I just want to, it's my understanding that with the current budget, the way that it is, that the elementary schools are going to have a class size next year of between 23 and 25 students a classroom. And I just want to get on the record as saying that I think that's too high. I've heard the school committee argue that class size isn't as important as you might think. And yet I still think it is important. So just as a member of the community, I wanted to come up here and say that I think it is important and that 25 students in a classroom is way too high.
All right, it looks like there is no further public comment. We will move on to it with the rest of our agenda. We're going to go into recognitions. We have the superintendent recognitions.
Great. I think that the high school reps and I are going to have to get together because some of our recognitions are the same, but that's okay. It's always good to hear it twice. I'm going to start by inviting middle school 7th grade teacher Gabby Campbell and her students to come on up to the table. Do you guys want to come up with her? So Miss Campbell and her students, her 7th grade students at North Andover Middle School, they were the winners of MassDOT's Name a Snowplow contest with their creative entry, the Blizzard Busters. I'm going to let Gabby, Miss Campbell, introduce her students and if they want to talk about it. And then I do have a video that I hope will play for everybody. Just have to speak into the mic, okay? Just pull that right up to you.
All good now?
Yeah.
I am Gabby Campbell. I am a 7th grade teacher at North Andover Middle School. This is Declan O'Neill and Haley Hannon.
Great. All right. Should I play the video or do you want to share anything with us?
It was just a really cool experience. I think the DOT said that over 1,200 districts were in this contest, and we were one of the 8, I think it was, chosen. So it's a huge honor. I feel like too many times students I work with in special education don't often get the recognition they deserve. So being part of something so special and so cool that so many students were a part of across the state and getting to win was a huge honor. So, and they got to see direct democracy in action. So it was
Awesome.
really cool.
All right, let's see if that video will play. Right there, I did link it. Any luck? Oh, I knew it wasn't because it came off of Facebook.
Two-factor authentication. There you go.
You don't normally go on Facebook on your.
No.
Not on my
Sorry, I took the, MassDOT sent the video through Facebook, and that's where I took it from to put it on, because it's great. As we're working on that, I will say that I got to be there. The students had great questions for MassDOT. They were really impressed from everything of where do you get lunch breaks? What do you do when you come to a stop sign? Do you get to run stop signs? Where do you park this snowplow? Will we see it on our streets in North Andover? Do you remember where they said that they parked the snowplow? Anybody remember? Declan, do you remember? I can see it. Lawrence. So we should see it, hopefully not this year. We're all done with snow, but we should see it on the streets of North Andover. Any luck?
No.
No. So it is on the North Andover website, Facebook page if you want to see it, but it's great. Many of the students got a chance to go inside the snowplow, honk the horn, and if you go and check out the video, you'll see Mr. Gonzalez, I was going to say the president, the principal, and Miss Campbell inside the snowplow as well. But everybody came, the treasurer of MassDOT was there, is that who it was?
Yeah.
Yep. And spoke to the kids. It was really great. We're really proud of you.
It was awesome. I
Can
hope.
I-
Yeah, I have a question.
I have
too.
Yeah,
questions.
sure.
Sure.
Did the whole class like have some ideas and then whittle it down to this one, or is it just a couple individuals? Like, how did we get to Blizzard Buster?
Yeah, so I saw Pam's email. I think it was back in October
Yeah.
when the contest was first announced, and I was like, oh, how cool would that be? But I honestly didn't think we would have a shot. I was like, whatever, we'll do it and see what happens. So we thought about other names for snow. Instead of snow, like blizzard, storm, gusts. And then we kind of wanted to keep it like a Blizzard Buster, just something catchy. We got to hear other districts' names. They had really cool names too. There was like Taylor Drift, which I thought was a really cool one.
That's top notch.
And then once we narrowed it down to a couple, we voted on Blizzard Buster and we sent it in, and we got an email a few months later.
And was the graphic part of your entry?
It was not actually. The Mass DOT made it themselves. And this is going to be hung up in the lobby of North Andover Middle School soon.
Nice. I'm curious if these two students were sort of leading the vote, or like how did the students organize themselves?
Students just, for tonight,
No, I meant to pick the name.
we just did a class vote.
Oh, okay.
Democracy.
Yep, democracy in action. Love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I know 8th grade in civics, they get to learn all about that. So a little connection, a little preview to 8th grade.
Thank you.
Thank
Great.
All right,
That
thank
is
you so
amazing.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Good job.
And I have a bunch of stickers if anyone wants them.
Yes.
They,
Oh,
gave
yeah,
us,
definitely.
they gave us about a pack of 300 stickers. I can only place so many Blizzard Buster stickers in my classroom, so if any of you want any, just
Definitely.
let
Please
me
do.
know. I'll give you guys a bunch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Actually, I have one more
Oh,
question.
sure.
How will we know that snowplow when we see it? Like, where's the sign? Like, where do we need to watch?
It is on the door.
Okay, on like the driver door.
It's
We
on
need
the
that-
driver door, so if you can
Okay.
see in that picture, sort of right behind the kids, it's actually right on the door, the sign.
All right,
Okay.
something to watch for when we're out there driving in a snowstorm. Okay.
Next year's snowstorm. Okay, we have a few more. This is a recognition to our third grade teams at the Atkinson School and the Thompson School. You might have remembered earlier this year, Ms. Ando talking about investigating history. These two schools have joined together to attend investigating history professional development throughout the year, and they're unpacking the unit, and this is a picture of the teachers collaborating together. So we're really proud of them, and we're glad that they're doing that in third grade. And then at North Andover Middle School, I spoke once about the champion of the North Andover Middle School Spelling Bee. Well, that champion moved on to the daily item in Lynn that hosted the regional spelling bee, where 38 students competed from local communities. Detiyangi Kshidori represented North Andover. She finished in the top 10, and she was into the 5th round, so we're super proud of her, and we thank Mr. Mueller for coordinating this effort. Also, we had Mr. McGravy and the North Andover Middle School Civics, who was a North Andover Middle School Civics teacher, and North Andover students Parker Dubman and Sharif Krishna testified at the Massachusetts State House, making the 7th anniversary on the day of the 7th anniversary of the Civics and Action Law. That was part of the Civic Education Week. They were outstanding when they testified. They talked about their Slick Pro, which was removing the requirements, the 10th grade requirements for MCAS in terms of graduation, and they were mighty successful because that has happened. And they spent some time answering questions, so it was great to see. We also have, I don't think I printed that one. Hold on. Can't see from here. We also have The Last Witch, which is currently in production. If the North Andover Middle School 8th grade civics teacher Carrie Lapierre and her students and former state senator at the time Diane DeZagliaio, they worked to clear Elizabeth's name. Elizabeth Johnson Jr. was the last person convicted during the 1692 Salem witchcraft trials. And there is going to be a showing, I believe, at Smolak Farm coming up.
Monday, March 24th at 6 o'clock.
There you go. So that's
Appetizers.
awesome. Our girls hockey team, we are in a cooperative agreement with Haverhill High School and Pentucket Regional to form one team, the HPNA. 13 out of 22 girls from North Andover High School are on this team. They made it further than ever before, advancing to the Final Four of the state, and they lost a close game, 5-3, to eventual state championship, went to Hingham. And the North Andover 3 captains are Gabby Locke, Chase Nasser, and Julian Taylor. I think we already heard a little bit about this, but the North Andover Drama Guild, there's a quick picture of them. They performed the play Places, Places, that was written by Connor Hoffman. Also, just a few photos. You can see on the scoreboard there, it was a really tight game. A few photos of Knights Cares Week, and then the great pep, the color guard, the dance team. And if you can see in the bottom picture, that's our SRO, Officer Contreras, playing on the teachers team. And then just again, I really want to recognize the North Andover Student Council for their outstanding representation at the Mass Association of Student Council Conference. We want to give a special congratulations to Allie Roberts, who courageously ran. She didn't say this in her report, but she courageously ran for state president. Allie delivered an inspiring speech about unity and connectedness, showcasing her leadership and dedication. While she was not elected as president, we're thrilled that she will serve on the state board as a delegate, which is a tremendous achievement. I had the opportunity to watch Allie's speech, and it was really inspirational. We're also, as they said, excited to share that they won the prestigious Gold Council Award. This is the second consecutive year. And congratulations to Mr. Meehan, who is their student advisor and does a great job. Tomorrow, I'm going to get to meet with 13 of the student council members to hear a little bit more about how they achieved this award. And that's it for recognition this week.
Thank you.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It was a busy week, a busy couple weeks.
Way to go, Ally.
All right, do we have any roundtable reports? Any,
We should mention there's an election Tuesday.
we should mention there's an election
There's
Tuesday.
an election Tuesday. Please vote.
Yes.
Town election.
That takes place at the high school. And, all right.
I guess I'd make one other suggestion, if I might, that
Yeah.
there's, as it is budget season leading up to town meeting, there are many, many meetings that public is welcome to attend, of the Finance Committee, the Community Preservation Committee. We should encourage folks that, to be informed citizens and vote at town meeting, you need to get the information, and that's how you do it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay.
You want community events?
Community events.
Okay. There's a few. Tomorrow is World Down Syndrome Day, just a reminder to everybody. I think we already heard that the high school's having Relay for Life on March 28th. Franklin School has a variety show coming up on April 16th. Thompson School has their pasta night coming up on April 10th. North Andover Middle School is having a geography night on March 25th from 5:30 to 7:30. Let's see. Just did that one. The 8th grade play, Knock Knock, it's a one-act comedy. That's going to be this Friday, March 21st at 7, and then Saturday, March 22nd at 1 o'clock. And currently, the Ann Bradstreet Poetry Contest is going on, and we've had lots of students in North Andover Public Schools participating, which is great. And the 12th Annual Matthew Hardy Mito Classic will be held on April 9th at the North Andover Youth Center.
The only other thing is the sweetheart dances are coming up. The the kindergarten and first grade, and then the second and third grade are coming up in the next week or
And
two.
the fourth and fifth.
Oh, fourth and fifth too.
Yeah, so I think the kindergarten and first is this Saturday, fourth and fifth is Friday, then following Friday, and then the third and fourth, or second and third is next
Saturday.
following Saturday. Yeah, which is an exciting event for everyone.
I got distracted for a second. Ms. Lathrop, did you mention the youth center fundraiser next Saturday?
next Saturday night.
At the DoubleTree. Great
Correct.
opportunity to support the youth center. The
Night to
Night to
Shine.
Shine.
Night to Shine.
Yes. All right, moving on. Like I said, we are going to move our new business up. We are going to talk about the North Andover High School competency determination.
I'd love to welcome Deb Holman, our interim principal at North Andover High, and Meg Pinkston, our director of guidance at North Andover High School. These two amazing professionals teach me how to lead young people every day in what they're doing. And so they are here to talk to us about the North Andover High School competency determination and a few other items. So we will start here. Thank you, friends.
So I am here to talk about competency determination. Back in November, Massachusetts voted to eliminate MCAS as part of graduation requirements for students. So every district is now charged with coming up with their own policy around competency determination. So the first slide you guys have is just the new statute language, which essentially says that MCAS can no longer be used as part of the test, can no longer be used as a graduation requirement, and now verifying that students have the skills and competencies that is measured by those tests have to be certified by the student's district. So that's what the new language states in the law. And so our proposal is that students must pass English 9 and 10 or equivalent courses. So in high school, ELA MCAS is taken by students in 10th grade next week for our 10th grade students. So a passing grade in English 9 and 10 would test the same competencies in the Massachusetts frameworks that the MCAS would be testing as well. In mathematics, again, that happens in the spring of 10th grade, so a passing grade in Algebra 1 and Geometry or an equivalent course would be what we would propose for that. And then in science, for our students take the science MCAS in 9th grade, so that's biology for us. But there's also a science and technology exam available in chemistry or physics. So the competency determination would be a passing grade in biology, chemistry, or physics, or an equivalent course. That's what our proposal is.
Okay, if you could just pause for just one moment.
No
We have
problem.
We have something beeping. Thank you.
Okay.
It's
Okay, thank you.
That's okay.
Yeah, somebody's alarm clock is going off back there.
No problem. So you all have already approved our program of studies for this year, or for this coming year, so thank you for that. However, I am proposing a slight adjustment, and the text in red is the new language that we proposed to be added to the program of studies, which essentially just outlines what a competency determination is, and then the proposal down below. And then the text in black is the language that's already in the program of studies, and that's our graduation requirement based on credits. And the only other addition would be that students would be required to participate in at least one MCAS administration, which is aligned with state and federal regulations for accountability.
It is for the school committee members, this is in your packet. It's at the end because it was supposed to go at the end.
Got it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you see me straining to read?
I'm leaning in
That
here.
slide is not super visually appealing, so sorry about that.
It's even smaller.
Questions?
For competency determination?
Yeah.
Should we wait till the end?
Oh,
Is that the end of
That's
this?
Oh, that's,
end of competency
this is the end.
determination.
Never mind. Go
There's
ahead.
parking
Oh.
fees too, but maybe questions about competency
Yes.
first?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Please, yes.
yeah. So my question is, how did you come to this determination as what to propose?
Sure. So through lots of conversation, these decisions, so first we looked at what the statute said, then in conjunction with a lot of conversation with DESE, other districts, and amongst the administration at North Andover High School and in North Andover Public Schools in general. This was the language that we thought was inclusive and equitable for our students. We looked at also students in the class of 2025 and 2026, because we wanted to make sure that students who are rapidly approaching their graduation date wouldn't be hampered by any language that we developed. We also looked at specialty groups, so students that perhaps tested out of certain levels of courses, students that moved into the district later on in high school, maybe didn't take some of the courses that we offer in 9th and 10th grade year. Our English language learners, some of our special education students. So we looked at sort of these different subsets of groups and making sure that we can both be inclusive, but also hold our students to the rigor that the MCAS would have done, were sort of our two guiding principles.
Could I ask, empirically, have you compared the results the last year
how many students would have passed, given your definition, your proposed definition, and compared that to how many did actually pass eventually?
Yeah, so for the class of 2024, all of our seniors graduated with a competency determination and a high school diploma, and the same will be true for this year.
So
100%.
Is this requirement then roughly equivalent, tougher, easier than before?
I don't know if it's tougher or easier. I think that what it does is it uses our curriculum the way that the MCAS is intended for it to be used. So what it does is it ensures that students are being taught the skills and competencies that they need to have in order to be successful and graduate with with an education in Massachusetts. So I think that because our curriculum is so closely aligned with the Massachusetts frameworks, and students have to have academic success, that students who what we have seen is that students who have academic success in our classes, that will align with success on the MCAS exam.
I guess my specific question is, are there students who passed all their, who, when they were in 9th and 10th grade, school students who graduated last year, who got those grades but then failed? Or did none of our students failed the exam? Is that what you said?
So students have the opportunity to take the exam more than one time if they don't pass it on the first go-around. Similarly, students have the opportunity to take a course more than once at the high school if they don't have success on the first go-around. So I would say that there are multiple opportunities for students to demonstrate their competency.
No, but empirically, I guess if someone said to us, well, would all the students did all the students who passed, who graduated, pass this new succeed? Or are you saying you can't know because they would have been able to try again?
So, I mean, I could go back and look at students' past grades. I didn't do that because they've already earned the competency determination. So it's not like, so for our seniors, when they passed the MCAS in freshman year, that still counts as their competency determination. So I had no reason to go back and look at.
I'm an empirical and I do statistics. So when someone says, well, this is what we're going to propose, a logical question is, what are the evidence you have about whether it's tougher or easier? I understand why operationally you wouldn't have needed to do that, but I'm saying as you're now suggesting it, it's sort of a logical question.
Yeah. Yeah.
One more, if I may. Just curious why only one science course and 2 English, 2 math?
Because the MCAS only tests one subject area. So like if you take the biology MCAS, you're only being tested in biology.
Okay, so that's been the practice. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, so one other question. So the requirement is that you get a grade of whatever you said it was. That is it the teacher's judgment solely, or is there something quantitative as well as qualitative in the grade that you get in your 9th and 10th grade courses?
So I would say that that student grades are not qualitative by teacher discretion, that students earn grades because they were able to demonstrate knowledge against a standard.
I didn't mean it as a criticism.
Yeah, no,
I'm just curious.
I didn't take it as such.
Okay.
But so I think that would be how I would answer that.
Can I ask you a little differently, maybe? How are we ensuring that the grading practices used by teachers at the high school are equitable?
Yeah, I think those two things connect. And I think one of the things that the departments, the math, the science, and the English department discuss and are at different levels or different progress in are common assessments and collaborating on what the standards are in terms of common assessments. Math and science are a little more advanced on that. English has had that and moved away from that, and is, there might be a discussion for the school with English to come back to a little heavier on that.
I would argue that if in 9th and 10th grade, that is the competency requirement, that there should be some real firm alignment obviously between curriculum and the frameworks, and also the grading practices, to ensure that students all have equitable access to that success that we want them to have. Criticisms aside, we know that are abundant for MCAS, right, in terms of what it does and the mechanism itself. There is something novel about the idea of this outside thing validating what we say we are doing, and giving us data to then see if it's working or not, right? That is one of the benefits, and there's a whole host of problems. And in the absence of that, I think it really challenges us then to really look at, are we really aligned to our frameworks? Are we really teaching the skills? Are we and not just my understanding of them as a teacher in my room, but is the department and the school really doing those things the way they should be, so that kids are, when we say they are competent, they are in fact competent. And then my other question was, why do we want to have competency requirements different than graduation requirements? Why could we just say, and it could be a bad idea, that our graduation requirements are the competency requirements?
Because the new statute says that we have to have the competency determination align with what was tested on the 2023 MCAS. So what was tested on the 2023 MCAS is biology, chemistry, or physics, 9th and 10th grade English, and then Algebra 1 and geometry. So to hold students and say you have to pass 4 years of English when the MCAS only tests in 9th and 10th grade would actually be outside of the boundaries of the law.
I think you've answered a question I was going to ask. I always thought it was sort of a weakness of MCAS that we're testing what you did in 10th grade to determine whether you graduate. And, logically, it would have made sense to test what you were able to do at the end. And I was wondering whether we had the option of, since we get to decide for ourselves, could we define the goal in terms of what you actually know as a senior? Or are you suggesting that the language of the statute requires that we key this to 10th grade as opposed to 12th grade?
My understanding of the law is that, of the new statute, is that we have to align it with what was tested on the 2023 MCAS exam. So that would be 9th and 10th grade. But I think that the good news is that we still have it in conjunction with graduation requirements, which is what we've had since 2007. Students have had to pass the MCAS, since 2003. Since 2003, they've had to pass the MCAS exam. So students have had to do that along with their graduation requirements. So we've had some students along the way since then who have earned a competency determination, but not have earned a high school diploma. We also have had students who have earned a certificate of attainment, but have not earned a high school diploma because they have not earned their competency determination.
So can you remind us what are our competence, apart from this, what did you have to do prior to MCAS to graduate?
Prior to MCAS, I am not aware. I'm not sure.
But that's still on the books, because I looked at this last year and found that statewide there's a significant, small but still significant number of students who passed MCAS and didn't graduate because they failed.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So did we change the ones that were in place? Ours, the ones that North Andover created whenever they created them 10 or 12 years ago. It must be something like you have to pass such and such course, right?
Before MCAS's conception, you're asking?
No, I'm just
I think
saying.
you're asking about the graduation requirements, sort of what you were already saying, that we
Okay.
have both the competency determination
Yep.
and we have graduation
I
requirements.
am
Yes,
doing that.
Yep. I
Guilty
think
as
that's in
charged.
your packet. So it
Oh,
shows
oh,
you the appendix from the student handbook, which are the graduation requirements.
Okay, yeah, I misunderstood.
And I just want to go off of what Ed had commented about meeting that MCAS standard, but it also has in there the language in any additional areas determined by the board. So it seems like that's the minimum, and we have the ability to add additional criteria to that, as I think Mr. Moskovich was kind of getting at.
Yeah, I see the competency determination,
Looking at the
which is
statute.
the one we're talking about.
I'm talking about the statute.
Oh, appendix. somehow I managed not to get that. Oh, there, I've got it, sorry, okay, sorry.
So if we wanted to add an additional 12th grade project or requirement, we have the ability to do so?
I
Or if we
believe
wanted
it's
to add additional
part of-
subject area.
Go ahead.
I believe there's flexibility there for districts to determine that. I don't know how far that goes or what the possibilities could include, but I think the idea is that now each district gets to determine that independently.
Right, any other questions on the competency determination?
This is a first read, so we'll vote next time.
Correct, this is a first read. So any questions or comments? I'm sure you could forward on.
Can I ask one now or make a comment now?
Absolutely, yes.
I like that it's not necessarily the whole list of the graduation requirements. That doesn't bother me. But I also struggle that it's missing a history or a language or something else. It feels like a very minimal thing to do, and I feel like there's other ways for students to demonstrate their competency in other areas that matter to me as an educator and as a member of the committee that I would like to maybe think about adding in as well. I don't know how much or how many or what they would be, but
When do we need to have this voted on by?
So we have students who will be graduating this year who need to meet the requirements
Right, understood, but when do we need to make that determination?
as soon as you can. I mean, like.
Well, I'm saying
so,
we're
like,
we're
we
in
need
March.
to-
Do we need to
Yes.
do it by May 1st? Do we
It
need to
de-
do
so
it by
it-
April?
It depends what you
15th?
decide, because we
Okay.
might have students that cannot meet what you decide if they don't have the right coursework, or if they haven't, or have the right grades, or certain things. So it depends on what is decided.
But if, just as an example though, if we were to say that it should also include passing a course in history, they would have needed to have done that to graduate too.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. So so to earn a high school diploma, they have to have the competency determination and the graduation requirements. So if it aligns with that, then
And the
Yeah.
competency requirements are embedded in the graduation requirements at this point. It's not something separate from that list.
absolutely. Yes. Yep. Yeah.
And Mr. Hicks, I would say what I'm hearing is like a potential desire to go bigger and kind of re-examine graduation requirements. And one of the things that the school started with this year was working on Portrait of a Learner.
Yep.
Like, what is our Portrait of a Learner, which comes out of the accreditation process, but a lot of schools use it just as good practice to sort of reset and surface what are our beliefs around learning, what's our definition of learning. And those two things, beliefs and definition of learning, were the steps that we are taking at the high school this year. And we've done really great, fun things and interesting things with kids and adults on that. But it can potentially be a 3 to 5 year process to figure out your vision of a graduate, Portrait of a Learner. 2030 is the next North Andover High School NEASC accreditation. So there's kind of nice timing if, there's opportunity to go big and reconceive some things in terms of what do we want our Portrait of a Learner, vision of a graduate to be when they hit 12th grade. Sure, competency determination echoes of MCAS and the graduation requirements, but I think there's other things that the high school will be able to sculpt out with the community. So
Right, and perhaps, this is just thinking aloud again, is like what we might determine for this graduating class this year because of time constraints and when the thing was passed in November might be the most fair thing to do for these seniors, but we do have an opportunity to structure it in a way that we think about what's the best thing for current juniors or current sophomores. Like graduation diploma requirements for the class of 2025 can be one thing and different than other classes as well.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with the second, asking about the two science courses as a, you know, rather than one, given the world we're living in, but history legitimately belongs there too, so, but we have time to work on that, right?
So-
So what
so-
you need from us now, though, is
Just a
yeah,
preliminary.
this year.
All right.
So is my arithmetic correct that you could graduate, you could meet our graduation requirement without doing anything after your sophomore year?
No. Because the graduation
Still have to
requirement is
yeah.
another 10 credits in English, another 10 credits in math, the 15 credits in,
Okay,
there's like.
but you could do very little in your junior and
No,
senior
it
year.
says seniors must, read that, the bottom line, says seniors must be enrolled in a full schedule of classes
Yeah.
regardless of how many credits they've earned prior. Seniors must also enroll in 5 credits of
Ah,
English
but
and
they
5
don't
credits
need-
of math during their.
Senior year.
They don't need to pass them, though. They just need to be enrolled in them.
Well, they need the credits.
They need the overall
No,
number of
no,
credits.
but can't, well, I guess I'd have to do, I don't believe in doing arithmetic in public, but,
It takes a whole year to get 5 credits.
no, but.
They can only earn the 30 a year, right?
Students can earn up to 35 credits each year.
Okay, that's very
Yeah.
Okay.
So just a couple of things I want to point out. Just a reminder that our students will still be taking the MCAS. Taking the MCAS is still part of the requirement. So, and we will still receive that data in terms of our MCAS to be able to compare it, the way that we have been. And the other is, I think the school committee should consider taking the competency determination and including that in the handbook, where you already have the graduation requirements in the handbook.
This is not relevant to our decision, but some of the work I've been doing on looking at MCAS longitudinally, I found that statewide, the increase in the percentage of students who are proficient from 8th grade, now exactly the same students, from 8th grade to 10th grade is something like 25 or 30%. So there are two possibilities. There's a miracle in Massachusetts. Students who are not proficient throughout their career suddenly become proficient in 10th grade, or the 10th grade MCAS is graded on a pretty easy standard. One or the other, but one of those has to be true.
All right. If there's no other comments, then we'll put this on for a second read next meeting. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
presenting this. And now we have the second item, the parking fee increase.
Not near as interesting, but important nevertheless. We would like to propose for your consideration that North Andover High School raises its parking fee, which has been for many, many years at $40 a year for a student who is driving to school and parking in the student parking lot. And many, many years, I even asked Scott Young, assistant principal, who's been at the high school for 24, 25 years, Scott, when did it change and what was it before? $40. He said, I can't even remember. It's always been $40. So we did some comparables. As you can see, we put those up there. Andover, Central Catholic. We even went south and Walpole, Hamilton, Wenham. They are between 150 and 300, so we are noticeably lower. We have about 300 spots in the student parking lot. We probably would plan on waiving the fees for 30 students who met the criteria for economic need. And this would be a way to gather some, kind of get us up to a place that we think is appropriate for a yearly parking fee, but also pull in some revenue for student activities and student stuff. One of the things a couple of things we've listed up there is if this fits within appropriate regulations and guidelines, the student parking lot would benefit from a student or a lot monitor, an adult out there at the times where the kids are driving in and out. Parents are coming in and out for safety. We have even imagined building a little shed out there, which a couple of other schools have, and lot monitor could be in there at different times. That could be a project for our construction engineering classes. But other things besides the parking lot, we've imagined updating pieces of the library, materials and spaces, and so monies collected could go in initially for that need. There's a need for that. So I think yearly were we to up this cost, it would be a significant amount of money. So we would make proposals to the superintendent about how those monies would be used every year.
Just a question, how did you pick those schools to compare to?
They were Central Catholic, Andover nearby, Hamilton, Wenham. We had a connection there. We had a connection with Walpole. I had some connections with the Newton schools, but they're more city schools, so those weren't apt. But yeah.
So ones that you had access to the data?
Yes.
And knew, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So right now, we bring in about maybe $10,000 to $12,000, and this would be more $55,000 to $60,000.
It would be.
It's a big change. And usually when you collect fees, they have to be used for the same type of thing that you collect it for. So we collect athletic fees and then use it in our athletic department.
Yeah.
We're not this would be part of it's a student fees, a student activity fee, so then we could use it for anything with student activities, or since it's a parking fee, are we then limited to only parking lot related things? Is there that's a.
Yeah. I would defer to Lucy McCarthy, who oversees our student activity account. We can check with her.
Yeah.
There are very specific rules and laws about that, but there's also some opportunity. But certainly a lot monitor, a shed, so sort of like a shed, not like the kind where you put your tools, but like a shed where the lot monitor sits and sort of lets someone in, are certainly very appropriate. We'd have to look for
Absolutely.
library materials.
I just want to make sure that we monitor, yes, ongoing costs. Shed is more of a one-time cost. What are the other, after we've done that, and we're bringing this amount of money, where are we allowed to be spending on other things? And I want to, because it's a good way to get a little bit more money. I know we've been doing a lot with fees lately, but this one bothers me less than some of the other fees that we've been talking about, to be honest.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. And on kind of that same note, why 200 when some of the comparable schools are much larger?
We didn't want to go as high as the other schools. The administrative team did talk about that a lot. Just because it's at 40, we were talking $180 a year is like $1 a day. All right, let's propose 200. That seems reasonable for all of those days that a student can park there. Some of us wanted to cut it down. Some of us wanted to push it up. So we sort of centered on proposing 200 to get some feedback on.
So the economist in me wants to ask, how many students park there now and how many spaces are there?
About 300. There's about 300 spots, so about 300 kids park there.
So we better raise the rate pretty quickly, or we're going to have to figure out how to auction these spots, right? I mean, that's one reason people raise prices, is to limit, if they don't have capacity, they have to figure some way of deciding who gets to go there and who doesn't.
Yes, and there's the students sign up in the summer for the parking, and it's a first come, first serve. It's most seniors who desire the spot, get the spot. Some juniors who have their licenses come in, they get their spots. Not everybody is satisfied, but the student parking lot is jam-packed. It is full and overflowing, so.
Ms. Roberts, you want to contribute?
Yeah, totally. That is a whole paycheck for me too, but SOAR parking lot is very full. I know of people who park and get tickets because they're parking on the lawn and stuff, because there's just no space. I remember coming in this summer wicked early to get my spot, and I know a bunch of juniors didn't even get spots because they didn't get there early enough. So I'm just wondering, what are you gonna do with all that? Are we still gonna have people park on the lawn?
I'm hoping not. But I think you're talking about supply and demand, which is what Mr. Moskovitz is talking about. So if they are very desirable, then the price can go up. I know it's a whole paycheck, but Allie, it's choices, right? How are you going to spend your bucks?
It could also be a chance to build a few more spots if we raise the money and they can pay for themselves. Possibly.
If there was space.
If there was space, right?
Potentially,
If
yeah.
it could pay for itself and make money, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
just want to clarify, this goes into a revolving account. This does not affect the school's operating budget.
Yes, yes.
All right, any other questions or comments on that? All right, this is a first read as well, so we'll bring it back at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will resume back. We are at Around the District.
Well, I spent a lot of time sharing some of the recognitions with you, so I don't have a around the district report tonight. And honestly, we have spent a lot of our time in central office working on the budget. So my report tonight will focus on FY25 budget and FY26 budget.
All right.
Oh, you want me to do central office updates first?
Yes, you
Okay. But I do have a few central office updates to share with you. I would like to ask the committee to endorse my recommendation that we appoint Ms. Ando, our interim assistant superintendent, to the position of assistant superintendent for teaching and learning. I have included Kristen's bio there for you, which now, of course, my papers are out of order. Hold on. Okay. But really, Kristen has stepped up to the plate in more ways than one. I think it's been 8 years in North Andover. Kristen's been working for 8 years in North Andover as the director of, the humanities director, pre-K to 12. And in that position, she's also overseen our ELL teachers, our reading teachers, and lots of other supports in the district. And I was thrilled that she was able to and wanted to accept this position as interim assistant superintendent, knowing that she was going to be taking on that job this year and that we weren't going to be able to fill her position of humanities director, so that she would still have to have all of those duties as well. But just to give you a little background on Kristen, she's had a dedicated 30 years to public education. The first 23 years, she served as a teacher, an instructional coach, a mentor, and a principal in the Lawrence Public Schools. Over the past 7 years, as I said, she has held the role of humanities director and interim assistant superintendent in the North Andover Public Schools. She oversees teaching and learning, ESL for our students, and grades pre-K through 12. Kristen has a BA in education from Boston College and a master's degree in special education, as well as a CAGS, which is a certificate of advanced graduate studies and educational leadership, both from Salem State University. Kristen has taught at Merrimack College, Northeastern University, and the University of Massachusetts Lowell in an adjunct capacity, as well as being a Massachusetts Department of Education certified Sheltered English Immersion SEI instructor. Kristen grew up in North Andover. She resides here currently with her husband, Guy. Both her children, who are now in their 20s, attended North Andover Public Schools, and they are currently educators themselves. I can't think of a better person to take on this role, and I hope that you will support this appointment.
All right, I'll open it up for any questions for Ms. Ando. Go ahead.
Hi. Lovely to see you in this position now. As we look forward to the next couple of years, what are the things and areas where you would want to focus first? Like you always think about, like, what's your entry plan? But you don't have to, and that usually comes from having to learn about the place and then making those decisions, but you already know about this place so much. So skipping that part, where would you like to focus your energies in this role?
I think throughout my career, I've always put my flag on the ground around teacher development and the idea that you have a successful school system because you have teachers who love kids but also have the right materials and have the support that they need to do it. And so I would love to continue the goals around high-quality instructional materials and a multi-tiered system of support, but I do believe that our teachers are the backbone of what we do. And I feel like my teaching role has just changed over the course of my career. I used to teach second grade, and then I was an instructional coach, and then I was a principal at the school level, and now I just get to, widen that sphere of influence. But it's still teaching. We're still teaching, we're learning, we're developing. And so my entry plan would really be to continue the work around developing our educators to do the best they can for our kids.
I have one.
Yes, please.
Hello. So one thing I'm curious about, the departments would all report into this position, right? Do report into this position. So have you, I'm curious about your opinion about continuity between the lower grades and the high school. You know, right now, I believe that's not it's not the same person supervising, for example, the science teachers at the high school is a different person than those who supervise the elementary. And I think we might lose something there. So I'm curious what you think about that.
Absolutely, and I feel like with, again, I know you've heard me say like high-quality instructional materials 8,000 times, but that's the idea that we're starting in pre-KK and working our way up through the grades. And so the idea that if teachers are using similar materials, that it's easier to have continuity between grades for kids and for adults, to be perfectly honest. And so the idea that, but you have to start that somewhere and build through. And so I feel like we can build a team where all of those, where we can have more consistency and commonality pre-K to 12.
Across all of the
Across all of our
disciplines.
subject areas,
Yeah.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Are you thinking, that one can think of this both horizontally and vertically, right? That,
Mm-hmm.
that all the teachers in the grade should have some sort of discussion between them, but also in some of the schools I've worked with, it's very constructive, like when the third grade teachers come watch the second grade teachers for a while, and then they have a discussion where the third grade teachers explain to the second grade teachers what they need.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so the idea that we have the talent and we have the resources that we need within our people, you know, with the right guidance, we can build each other up.
And another example which just occurs to me is that I've occasionally met, I remember one time anyway, a whole bunch of principals, high school principals, who said that sometimes when the high school teachers seem to be lagging, they suggest that they go visit first and second grade because of the emphasis that teachers there have on the different, more concerned with teaching, less concerned with subject mastery.
I think the job is more alike than different.
I'm sorry?
I think the job is more alike than different overall.
Yeah, but it was there. I'd never thought about that before. That they were really clear that there were times when teachers who might really know their science but didn't know how to put it across would actually benefit from watching a second grade teacher.
Absolutely, there's strengths at all levels.
Right.
May I ask one more?
Yes, please.
What would you see as being of a particular challenge or make you nervous about staying in this role permanently?
Other than our budget?
Like what makes you like what
challenging.
keeps you up at night right now in
Exactly.
terms of like what the work is?
That's challenging. The work is really hard, and it's difficult to do this work, and we're going to do this work with less resources. I think we can. I think our people are capable. I think we can, you know, with the right supports, we can absolutely do this. But yes, that's what always asking people to do more is, you know, with less, there's going to be less of them, and we know that, and that's a reality. But I really think that I believe deeply that we can do it. And so, yes, if we support our people, we can absolutely get it done.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, I just have one comment about that, that when you support teachers in a way that helps them teach better, more effectively, then the success of their students becomes its own support.
I will say, you know, we've been able to see your passion, your aspirations over the time, well, for me, since I've been on the committee, and I've really appreciated that, and that contagiousness that you give out for learning is just phenomenal. So I would be happy to,
Madam
Take
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation to hire Kristen Ando as the Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning.
Second?
okay, any other discussion? All right, I will take a vote. Mr. Hicks?
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Moskovich? Mr. Brown?
Yes?
Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Exactly. Thank you. I won't let you down. I promise.
I also want to share a little update, sort of keeping into the central office area. Sorry about this. All right. Keeping in central office. So you may have read, and probably I know I've sent it to you, and I put it out, that we have moved Mr. Joe Clark, who's the principal of the Franklin School, into a curriculum director position starting in July of, what are we in, 2025. So in the FY25 budget, we had 3 curriculum director positions. We had the humanity director position. We did choose to leave it vacant this year because of our budget concerns, but we did carry that position forward. Mr. Ben Cabrera, who was our math director, he left us in December this year, and we didn't fill his position, again, because of our budget concerns, but we did keep that in the budget. And then we have Kara Larkham, who is currently our STEM director, as one of our curriculum directors. We are going to be sort of redefining those roles, looking them at all 3 of them as curriculum directors, gives them some capacity to work that pre-K to 12, as you talked about, Mr. Moskovich, and doing some of that work. And people may have asked, and I heard some comments about sort of like why the timing now. It's really because Mr. Clark is a principal, and we want to make sure that the Franklin School has the opportunity to go through a proper search, to be able to have that time. Now is the time that when people are looking for new positions would start to apply. And if we waited until July to make that switch, we would have found ourselves not having the ability to have a full search for the Franklin School community, and out of respect for that community is why we've made that appointment now. But he won't start that position until July 1. And in conjunction with that, you have in your packet the search timeline process, very similar to the timeline process that we shared with you last time for the high school. This is the search process for the Franklin Elementary School. And one of the things is a school committee member being on part of that committee. So I ask that you let us know if you have a school committee member that would like to participate in that, or however that works for you.
I'm gonna volunteer somebody if I can.
Not if I beat you to it.
Okay, you can.
I was going to ask Ms. Kumir if you would be on that committee.
Yes, I would like to, and the only other thing I would kind of add to that is, as the school committee, because I did also volunteer for the high school principal school committee, so I wouldn't do both necessarily, so I don't know what.
Mr. Hicks is
Okay.
on the high school.
Oh, he got that one, okay,
Yes.
all right. So then yes, I would love
you.
to represent the school committee in the search for Franklin.
And I'm happy to answer any questions about the position. Yes.
Just looking at, thank you for the amazing timeline. Love it. It said position posted on School Spring and Indeed. I know School Spring is like the #1 go-to place for educators in the area to get things. Are there other places where we might want to widen, like, post as well that might just help us get a really robust pool of candidates?
I will say the candidates are coming in fast and furious.
So we don't need to?
Which is really great to see that people are interested in, our community. So we have posted on School Spring, and we have had we already have over 40 applicants that have come in for that position. So we
40
certainly
applicants.
can look further. I haven't looked to see if they all meet the qualifications, because sometimes people will apply for a position, so there may be some, but we've had some
That's
great.
pretty good for 6 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
All right. Is that conclude staff
That
updates?
concludes staff updates.
Wonderful. All right, let's move on to our budget updates.
Okay. So I'm going to start with FY
Madam-
'25. Oops.
Sorry, Madam Chair, can I just make a comment just
yes.
before we continue?
Please.
On, so Pam, I would just like to take a moment to thank you personally for your ongoing leadership during this complex budgeting cycle. Right, it's been a challenging time for all of us, but you've had unwavering focus on what matters most, which is our students and our staff, and it's truly made a difference. You've been a steady guide taking us through this, and you've been ensuring that we prioritize our student success while you support our staff. Your commitment to the district is clear, and you're taking us through this. You're navigating us through the complexities of the budget, but you're also working tirelessly to build your leadership team, and that's what's going to move the needle for all of us, for our students and our staff going forward. So I just want to say thank you for continuing to do all of this work while you're also continuing to set us up for the next year. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I will say, there are amazing educators that are working in our schools and in our central office, and I'm really pleased that we were able to bring Mr. Clark aboard to help in this curriculum work. He's been very passionate about that, and vocal about his desire to be part of central office. I think that just what the chair said in terms of Ms. Ando's work has just been exemplary, but it's a really hardworking leadership team. And the budget process is challenging. I appreciate what you say. I appreciate the support of this board, and I appreciate the work that everyone's doing. I know it's hard, and we may not always agree, and we have hard decisions to make, but I do believe that everyone, the people sitting on this board, myself, and everybody watching at home and sitting in the audience truly cares deeply about our students and the best that we can get for them. Thank you. Okay, so moving into the budget. So tonight I'm going to share with you FY25 update, and then give you a little bit more update on where we are with FY26. And I know that gets a little bit confusing. So FY25 is currently where we are right now. FY26 is as we start to think about when we transition into the July 1. So it's not, you can't, that slide's a little tricky, but you do have it in your packet. This is the budget update. So I think the thing that I want to point out is that we had been holding rather steadily, looking at our deficit at about $3.5 million deficit for FY25. You'll see that the deficit now is $4,083,000, which is an increase that we never want to see that number going up, knowing where we are. And you'll also see down at the bottom some of the potential funding sources to close the budget deficit, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But in the last time I had reported to both the board and select board and finance committee, we were looking at, as I said, about $3.5 million. So this is $570,000 greater. And really, one of the reasons that you're seeing this is because of the work we did for FY26. Because for FY26, we met with every cost center. Gail Dowd, who was working as our financial consultant, met with every cost center and was able to put together a true representation of our needs in the district and what we're spending our funds on in the district. And because when she did that, it made her then go back and look at FY25 to see if there was anything that was not being accounted for in the FY25 budget. So while we had been encumbering our costs, the FY25 budget did not fully capture all of our projected costs that were not encumbered. There were some drivers here, some of the unanticipated costs. We, just to be honest and upfront with everyone, we had some pest infestation in our schools this year. 4 of our schools had to be treated significantly in order to eradicate the pests, and then those same schools are receiving maintenance right now to keep them away. Just to let you know, that was about to the tune of $42,000 in order to remove them and to be able to keep the treatment. We've had substitute needs that were unanticipated. We've had some leave of absences that were unanticipated, so you're paying for a full-time employee as well as a substitute. And then some of the other things that I mentioned in a memo that I shared with you is stipends for our spring coaches. Other unanticipated expenses was projections for new out-of-district placements or settlements that came in higher than we had previously estimated. We do believe that this budget, so I'll just say that we have proposed funding that's here in order to close this gap. There's $750,000 ARPA allocations. There's $1 million transfer from the Finance Committee reserve. There's $2,268,000 from free cash appropriation and $65,000 from the Special Education Stabilization Appropriation. That will bring us to a zero. Do you have questions? Do you want me to keep going?
What was the, I didn't quite catch the rodent amount?
The rodent amount.
Was it
42.
42,000.
42. So just a reminder, the select board has already allocated $750,000 of the ARPA funds to the school department. The finance committee reserve transfer requires approval from the finance committee, and the free cash appropriation request and the special education stabilization request are contingent upon town meeting. Moving forward, we believe the FY26 budget is sufficient to meet the needs, but you have to understand that that will come with layoffs that I'll talk about in a few minutes. But we are also implementing accounting policies and practices, which was very much part of your budget directives, that allow us to better track expenses in real time and more effectively identify trends in unforeseen costs. And I think that last time school committee met, you appointed some budget liaisons, and I think that will be very helpful in keeping track of the budgets moving forward.
So, and I just want to make sure there's a clear understanding. The FY 2025 budget was one that you essentially inherited.
Correct.
That you've tried to pull together. The FY 26 is the one you've been able to build from the ground up.
From the ground up.
So we know that now, going from the ground up, where we in essence are looking to be more reliable.
Correct.
A little bit.
And
at
those
least.
meetings, I think Ms. O'Neill can tell you, she's had several meetings with Gail, some of them to the tune of 4 hours long, looking line by line, looking at everything that we're, either salaries or expenses. Our athletic director has met with Gail Dowd. Our director of maintenance has met with Gail. Kristen can say the same thing about her meetings, so that our FY26 budget includes everything that we are spending our funds on. And that is something that we didn't have any accounting system, and we don't have past records of some of the things that we're spending funds on. And there wasn't anything built into the budget. So if you have something like mice, and everybody's had mice, if you've seen the news, you've seen lots of school systems have had a mice situation, but as well as hospitals and other places, movie theaters, that has been an issue. But we have to plan for those issues, because we can't, as you know, sort of day to day, things happen. And if you don't have some kind of reserves, or if you don't plan accordingly, we're going to continue to fall into problems like this.
Madam Chair, may I? I just want to confirm, I'm sure this is true, but so all of these things, not just the ones we found here for this 500K, but all the learning we've done in the past 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, that's all built in next year's.
All built into next year's
right?
budget.
So we have funds allocated to handle things like pest
Yeah.
control and,
With some buffers, knowing that sometimes things are going to come in a little bit more, which we didn't have this year. Not only did we not have the appropriated dollar amount for what we were spending, but we didn't have any buffers.
And so I guess the one thing I worry a little bit about is the leaves of absence that hit us when we're not expecting them. So presumably that's also hopefully accounted for a little bit?
Yeah, so lots of times we know about a leave of absence, and you can plan for it. If there's something that somebody has coming up, they'll tell us, and we plan appropriate for it. But sometimes life happens, and you
Sure.
can't plan for something. But what you do when you build the budget is you plan for those unexpected times. So you put more money in that line item, so that if something comes up, you have the money to be able to cover that.
That's where I was going, right?
Yes.
So, because there's always, sadly, people have family things happen and they have to take time off. It's understandable, but we now are planning for that, is my question. And I
Yes.
think the answer is yes. Thank you.
Cautiously. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't want to say that there's because we've had several budget iterations, and so we're cautiously planning for that, but we are building that practice into our budgeting procedures.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sort of echo what the chair said earlier, that the 25 budget was built in December of 23 and passed and originally voted on in February of 24. So like and I think although at some point you think you've tried to figure out all the questions you should have asked about it, and then comes up that one question that you didn't even know existed that needed to be asked about, and that's, I imagine, very, very frustrating. And like, you had diligently done the work to figure out all the known expenses, and lo and behold, there were some that just were unknown, and I don't fault you for that at all. I just wanted to say that. And thank you for making sure that we are putting ourselves in a better position for the future and doing a better job of accounting and knowing what monies are being spent. Because we can't change what has happened, but we can certainly do a better job of putting the right guardrails in place to make sure we do better
Absolutely.
for next year.
This is a budget that I've built, that we've built, and we are definitely going to be better than we were this year and last year.
And you said last July that this year it was going to be a little bit of a mess.
Yeah, I mean,
And
trust me, the last thing I want to do is come here and tell you that there's another $500,000 deficit. I'd love to be able to come here and either A, say we were continuing to hold steady, or that, I wish I never had to have done that, right?
The other question and found money.
Those kinds of things. This is a challenge. I have said it before, and I'll say it again. I'm very grateful to the town manager and to the CFO from North Andover, from the town of North Andover. They have worked tirelessly to work with us, to support us, to help us during a time when we didn't have full staff, and understanding that we were going to need some more finances from the town this year. So I can't thank them enough. And then making sure that we are planning appropriately moving forward. And I think that's, again, we all know that the number is not level service number, but we know that we are starting to build a base of what we're actually spending our money on and what we need, and that we will continue to grow from that. Okay, so now I'm going to transition you to FY26. Just as a reminder, this is the budget that I shared with you last time. There's nothing different here. This is just what the allocations are. And I'm going to just, again, it just shows you what level service looked like, what the school committee voted for a $68.2 million budget, what the reductions would look like. So I'm just going to move on to the next slide. And so this next slide is really difficult to talk about and to share. And, I want to preface that there are some things that we are in the process of delivering this information to our staff. And I have made a commitment that no staff member is going to learn about their position being eliminated on TV. So while we have not had an opportunity to talk to our staff members, you'll see the first time that we're sharing information is on March 21st with the staff members. I'm not tonight going to tell you exactly what areas are being eliminated, because then potentially somebody would find out on TV that their position is being eliminated. But this week we are eliminating 40 positions. They are what we would consider a non-renewal position or a reduction in force. On March 31st, there are 40-plus positions in our district who are going to receive an assignment change within North Andover Public Schools. So their position, they're still working here, but due to the needs, some of the way that we rebalanced with the shifting, the part of that is also included Kittredge school staff. They will get a new assignment change. And then in the spring, we will be able to let our teaching assistants know what impacts there may be on teaching assistants. This is a complicated task in terms of closing a school, moving those teachers, looking at some of the other reductions, following the collective bargaining agreements that we have, and really thinking about our students and thinking about the needs of our students. Some of the things that we have done in this is really listen to your directives as well as the community, talking about special education, social emotional health, and looking at those positions and where we could make some maybe other kinds of changes to preserve some of those positions as well. And so in terms of teaching assistants, once we move all the students to the schools, if I think about the elementary, when the Kittredge students are moved to their new schools, and then as special education programs are moved to their new assignments as well, and then any other changes that are happening in the middle school and high school, Then we will be able to determine the needs of each of those schools, and then we will place teaching assistants depending on the needs of the students in those schools.
Are the 40 positions on March 21st, do those include teaching assistants as well?
They do not.
Those are just teachers?
Yes, teaching assistants, there are not determinations until the spring.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
When is, as surprising as it seems, I think we're now officially spring now. When is spring? Is that April, May?
I'm thinking it's probably April, May. I'd like to, obviously, when you're reducing someone's position, you want to give them as much time as possible in order to find a new position. So that is why, it's not traditional that you would see a school district that is sharing with their teachers in March. If a position is being eliminated, that doesn't usually happen. But this is a challenge, and this is a hard challenge that our community is going through, and it will be difficult for our staff. And we want to give them as much time as possible so that they can prepare for themselves. Even positions that may have a change. There may be some positions that are going from a full-time teaching position to a part-time teaching position. And that has implications for them, themselves, their families, that they'll have to make some decisions. So spring probably means April, May.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So to clarify, 40 is the net reduction that you expect that we need to make?
Correct.
Okay.
We can go to the next slide. There are some impacts that I can share with you that I have more specifics. So athletics it's a $20,000 reduction. I did have an opportunity to talk to our athletic director and what these impacts will be. So first I want to say that all students will have an opportunity to play sports. I know there's been some talk of perhaps there wouldn't be freshman sports. That's not true. All of our students will have the ability to play sports. But the impacts would be 10 teams with freshman programs will reduce their game schedule by 3 games. So they have 2 less away games and 1 less home game. 5 teams are going to reduce their meet fees. 2 teams will reduce their spending by $1,500 each. The athletics is going to reduce their spending on equipment, and 1 team is going to put off getting new uniforms for the following year. And then in Scarlet Knight Academy, they have a $10,000 reduction. So what that looks like, it's a reduction in teachers, so they'll go from 12 teachers per semester to 10. They have a dedicated special education liaison that was just a new position this year that we put in order to support some of our students who participated in Scarlet Knights Academy. But we will lose that position. And then there are 4 other possible consequences that we're looking at. Increase the class size by up to 4 students. Decrease the capacity of the program from 24, so currently 24 students participate in Scarlet Knights Academy, to 20. Limit the ability to offer certain classes, increase the use of online courses instead of classroom teachers, and they'll also see a reduction in materials and supplies.
Do you think it will be all 4 of those consequences, or it would be one of, or a combination?
Our director of the Scarlet Knights Academy is still looking at that.
Okay, but likely not all 4
Likely
of
not
those.
all 4.
But okay, thank you.
And then I just want to share some communication updates. On March 17th, I sent a budget update that was part of the nightly newsletter. On March 12th, I had the opportunity to meet with the Kittredge School staff to answer some of their questions, talk about the process. So Kittredge School staff members had the opportunity to share with us through a Google form the school that they might like to move to and the grade level that they're most interested in teaching, knowing that they may not be able to teach the current grade, so they're giving us some choices. We also provided for the Kittredge staff a Google form of questions that they either didn't want to ask out loud in a group or they think of later to help them as they transition to a new school community. The Kittredge School Committee received a letter also on March 12th, and that letter talked about sort of the next steps, which will be a Kittredge Community Zoom meeting that the PTO has set up with me, where we can outline the steps for the Kittredge School parents the Kittredge School parents have been gathering some questions that they have been kind enough to share with me in advance so that we can answer those for them at that meeting and provide for them a timeline of when they will know where their students are going to school, when they'll know how the process of assigning students to classes will look like. I sent a budget letter to the North Andover Public Schools staff on March 13th, sharing with them a timeline so that they would know when they could expect to hear from us whether or not their position is being affected. And then again, the Zoom meeting with the Kittredge School Committee is March 27th. I'm happy to answer any questions.
On the athletics reduction, one team putting off getting new uniforms, is that, I mean, it's a delay, are other teams still getting new uniforms next year, or is this all, there was just one next year that's slated, or?
I know that Mr. Nugent has a process in the way that they
Right.
get new uniforms. The football team had new uniforms this year, so I think it's probably the team that was slated to get new uniforms is putting it off. But I can check with him to see if anyone's getting new uniforms.
And I just want to make sure, because I know there are some rules around uniforms and Title IX and making sure that they have to happen, and like, there's orders and like making sure, not like order them, but like making sure that teams are treated fairly.
Correct.
I just want to make sure that we meet those obligations.
Yes,
I know
always,
he will do
yes,
that.
meeting those obligations.
And then second, on the Scarlet Knights Academy, I don't like the fourth possible consequences of going to online courses. I know that that is efficient, but I would rather, I think, in the opportunity to work with a teacher, especially and for those students enrolled in that program, is really, really important.
Thank you.
I have a question about that one, too. Has there been a waiting list to get into that? Or, in other words, are we currently serving all the students that want to do that?
Scarlet Knight Academy is recommendation by teachers, and predominantly are our senior students. So Scarlet Knight Academy are students who do some sort of work activity during the day, and they do their school activity during after school to sort of early evening time. So I think that right now we have a capacity for 24 students. I think probably if you open that up, the teachers might have more recommendations, but they work really hard to make sure they're recommending the right students for this program. But there will be a decrease. So now next year we'll be offering it to 20 students.
No, yeah, I just was curious if that was the, if it was the kind of thing where we were unable to do what we want to do, you know what I mean? I'm trying to go with that.
I know what you mean. I think that, there's always opportunity to build the program up. But right now they've held steady with 24 students.
Okay.
And they have, that can vary from semester to semester, from each of the semesters.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to echo what Joe said with the online courses. I had my daughter attended Scarlet Knights Academy. I think it's so important to have that face-to-face interaction. And like you said, a lot of them work during the day. It's their only opportunity to be around their peers and to have that interaction with them as well.
Yeah. Well, make sure we pass that along to the director.
Any other questions or comments?
I do have one question. So just on the impact to athletics, it's just a question. It says 5 teams will reduce meet fees. What does that mean? Like, who's paying the meet fee? Because that's reducing our.
So meet fees, I think, are when they go to like certain meets. So they may not be able to participate in as many meets as they typically do.
So it's their allotment of meet fees to go to other
So typically-
meets. So they do less things. It's how much money they have to pay.
Correct.
Meet fees. Okay, got it.
If
I
it's
thought
a
it was
s-
us collecting things. I'm like, how is
No.
this? This seems backwards. Okay.
So like sometimes I think like sometimes in the cross country world, I could be wrong. You go to one of the invitationals and to enter your team, you have to pay X amount of dollars.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like in a track meet, you have a fee. You have to enter. You have to pay a fee to enter because Reggie Lewis Arena has charges you, right? So
Yeah.
it's the same thing as teams reducing their schedule. It's exactly the same thing.
Reducing their meet fee.
Yeah, it's just like dropping games. It's the same thing.
All right, we're going to move on to the school committee chair updates. We're going to start out with the school committee Hall of Fame nominations. Mr. Hicks, do you want to jump in on that?
We have the Hall of Fame process. It's open. It's always open. You can do it at any time, but it does close on April 30th. This past year, we were able to induct Lisa Bernard at an amazing ceremony back in October. It was absolutely wonderful. So if you are interested in nominating a teacher for the Hall of Fame, please do so. There is an online form. We are going to try and make it easier to see the requirements, the criteria on this page versus just being in the form. We will try and get that done soon. But it's a novel program to North Andover, and I think one of the better ideas that's come along in terms of how we recognize teachers in a long way. And you can do it either electronically or there's a handwritten form. And then we will meet in May and decide if anyone is being inducted. And then if they're inducted, they will be inducted in October and give the invocation, what's the open? Convocation? The convocation speech the following August.
I will say it is linked,
It's also linked
the
on
the requirements.
the requirements,
Are
yes.
linked at the Educator Hall of Fame School Committee document that has all the requirements.
They are
for
buried in
nominees.
there. There are some things
Yeah.
that need to happen.
Yes. All right, thank you. All right, we did the.
I did that, sorry, I skipped
That's
ahead.
okay, that's okay. All right, school committee chat dates. We agreed that we had our next one not until June 1st, and we thought we definitely needed more prior to that. So a survey did go out to all the school committee members. I think first we need to decide how often, or how many more of these we want to have leading up to town meeting.
Oh, it's weird.
Oh, yeah, it is weird.
It's supposed to be by month, maybe?
Yeah, it goes
Months
like
across the
back,
top, yeah.
front to back to front. So it goes this one, that one, that one.
So
Okay, I got it.
I guess the question is, do we want to do an extra every other week? Do we want to add, we're in March, so do we want to add, 2 more before town meeting?
I would suggest that we try to do every week that we don't have a school committee meeting, kind of alternate, try for that. If there ends up being available, and if we miss some, that's fine, but that we try for that. It feels like as we're doing these community chats, we're getting a turnout. And people are having things to say. Maybe we don't need to have them for 3 hours long each time, right? But that as long as the community still has things to say about the process we're going through, that we try to at least have one, maybe the weeks we don't, or the weekend that we don't have a school committee, but as a target, would be my thought.
Anyone else have any thoughts or comments on that suggestion?
I think it's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. And, keeping in mind, there's only 2 there at a time, so we
Yep.
can rotate.
Yeah.
All right. So, and I know for me, Ms. Cormier, and you may be in the same situation, some other parents may be in the same situation of waiting on sports schedules.
Practice schedules,
yeah.
spring sport practice and schedules and weekend game schedules are.
Right, those have not come out
Yes.
for,
I can do some, well, I think I can why don't we make headway where we can, and then where we
Yeah.
can't, we move on. How about that? Like, we just try.
Yeah.
What we can get.
Yeah.
So if we look just to the next one, so if we just think kind of going with the every other week concept, the next one would put us, a week from today, would be the 27th. Mr. Hicks, you said you can do it, and I know I can do it. Do you want to say we're doing March 27th?
Sure.
I will tell you, March 27th is the Kittredge School
Oh, all right.
community
No.
meeting.
yes, so
Okay.
that's,
All right.
I withdraw my yes.
Okay. Well, then we,
Maybe one of us can attend to listen in, if that would be, if we would be welcome there.
Oh, yeah, I was actually,
Okay.
I was planning on attending that.
Oh.
The Kittredge one, I mean.
okay.
All right,
Well-
so we
So
could
then
either do it,
moving-
yeah, we could either do the Wednesday, we could either skip it, or we could go the Wednesday before or the Saturday. There was,
Well, I think we probably want to add another one because not all families are Kittredge. There's other families that are going to want to are caregivers that are gonna wanna talk.
So we can still do it on the 27th then, is that what you're saying? Or move to the 29th that Saturday?
I think we should move to the 29th.
Okay.
Well, I'm willing to do it alone. And David says he might be able to come.
On the 29th,
Yeah.
you're saying?
Talking of sports schedules, my coaching schedule is
No, I
kind of
understand.
TBD, but I
But,
I
I mean,
probably
if you
can
come,
make-
it's fine. If you don't come, I think
Yeah.
I'll survive.
Is it 10:30 to 12?
Yes.
If we
Well, we can
slide it
adjust
a
the
little-
time.
Those aren't permanent date, like that was just guidelines, the 10:30
Okay.
to 12, so if
We can.
we
So
can
if we push
adjust.
that later, I could make it. Like, I know I'm busy in the morning, but I could probably get back here by 11:30.
So why don't we?
Maybe 12 would be better.
You can do like a 12
To 12 to.
to 1 or 12?
12
Well,
to
if you
1.
want to push it back, I'd rather, it's fine with me. I'd be, like 12:30 or 1 would be perfect for me. If that's okay with, if you
It's
think,
even
would
it's
people
even
come?
better. Yeah, if we do 1 to 2, it's perfect.
1 to 2?
Sounds fine with
I
me.
think that's good. All right, next one, we're looking at April 10th.
All right, that's one, April 10th. I can do that one, and
I can do that
Mr.
one.
Hicks, yeah, because Dave, you just signed up, so how about April
Okay.
10th is me and Mr. Hicks?
And then the next one, we're looking at
When do we get into school vacation week?
We skipped it.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
The Tuesday, the 29th is back after vacation. So the next chunk is the 29th to the 3rd.
I guess I got thrown, it says May up here, but we're looking
No,
at,
you're looking at the, this is still April.
oh, okay, so the 1st. If we're sticking with the Thursdays.
Yeah, the chunk of is there.
All right.
All right, yeah, so May 1st, but only one person could do May 1st.
I may be
so.
able to do that date,
Which date?
the 1st,
May 1st?
April 1st.
Oh, April 1st?
No, that'll be
May 1st.
That's May 1st.
Yep, this is.
I'm sorry.
Column
April
L.
29th.
May 1st.
May 1st.
So yeah, pencil me in for May 1st.
So Joe and Alyssa, okay.
Well, we could do the 3rd, because there are 3 of us willing.
I think at that point, sports schedules are gonna be quite
Oh, okay.
robust for weekends.
Okay.
All right, so if we move on.
I could probably do the 1st with you if we can do it a little later than 6:30.
I can do that one.
Yeah, Joe and Alyssa would be on the 1st.
No. Oh, I see.
I think the printout is challenging for you guys. I'm looking online, and it's a lot easier.
All right, and then we are looking at,
Be the 7th.
Oh, but the 30th, you've got plenty, so we don't really need to worry about it, right?
Well,
We've
no,
got
no,
3
Alyssa's
people
saying
signed
she
up.
can do she thinks she can do Thursday the 1st of May, right?
yes,
Yeah.
Right, and then town meeting's the 13th,
it is.
right?
Yes.
So then so that takes us to May 1st, and then we don't have any dates from May 1st to
Where this,
Saturday the 3rd, but we've already just met on the 1st, so.
right, and then there's the last one, the last chunk, this 7.
Yeah, but that's after John.
That's
That's
after
It's after town meeting, and we already have one scheduled
We
for
have-
June 1st.
Yes, yes.
Oh.
So I think
Never
this
Okay.
puts 3 more on the calendar, March 29th from 1 to 2, and I didn't write down who that,
March
That's
29th
Dave and
is
Ed.
me,
Dave and
that's Dave and,
Ed.
Dave and Ed? No,
Yep.
okay,
Uh-huh.
from 1 to 2, and then April 10th, that's Kelly and Joe. And that was the time that was
Yeah,
here, April, whatever we had in there, so that was
6:30 to
6:30 to 8. And then May 1st, Joe and Alyssa
Uh-huh.
from 6:30 to 8.
Okay, great.
So just for consistency, Ed and I should probably call it 1 to 2:30. So it's 90 minutes for each one.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I think that's reasonable. Right, it's-
Okay.
okay, and those will be,
I'll bring a snack.
Do
those
they
will
have
be
a
at central
location?
office?
Well, no, it's gonna be, I think this is where Michelle will figure out, based on the dates and times and what's available,
Oh,
whether
all
it's
right.
So
the
we'll
central
get
office or the
locations
senior
and-
center.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, perfect.
There was options of the senior center or weeknights even, and Michelle had said within the school cafes or libraries, but she'll figure out where and we'll publicize.
Perfect, all right, thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to school building updates, starting out with the middle school.
We're mostly in the process of just approving remaining invoices.
Okay.
Yeah, like, last week it was like we had approved one for Hutter, or the other ones, and it was, yeah. Yeah.
All right.
yeah. I think hopefully we have one in first week of April. I think that might be the last.
Okay. Kittredge.
Kittredge 2.0. Okay, so we had a meeting today, actually, earlier today. There is a lot going on there. So we approved a geotechnical proposal. That's to take land samples, boring into the ground and making sure that we have a good piece of land to build on. There's a preliminary one, so we approved that. All tasks up to now, including that, are within budget, which is good. Today, we voted as a committee to choose a preferred schematic option for the submission, and for those that are keeping score at home, it was option 4.1C. The C is the important thing when you look at all the options. So we did approve that one. Just to describe it briefly, it's an option where the playground area is in the front along Main Street. The parking is kind of concentrated to the upper left as you look at it, as you would look at it now, as you would look at the property now. And what's nice, it has a nice feature in it where the auditorium and the cafetorium, and the gym share a common center area, which can be a stage. So it serves a great additional purpose, as we can have up to 800 people at a gathering there. So it's a nice, another alternative large space for the town and for the schools to use. It was my personal favorite, so I was happy that it passed. There was a lot of good community feedback. We had 147 responses to the survey that was put out, and people spent considerable time on it, so it wasn't just check, 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 and they were out. They actually measured that. I don't remember what the data was, but there were many people spending a lot of time on this and clearly putting thought into it. What was most interesting was that the three new construction options, freely placed on the property, there was not a lot of variation among the voting, right? And people were passionate about their choice, but it was something like 327 to 322 to 296, or something like that. It was, no, I'm sorry, that was the average rating. They were all close, is the point. But the committee did vote for option C. There's a lot of attention to traffic considerations and where the buses would wait. But what's nice about this particular plan is the bus and the parent drop-off are separated, well separated, way better than now. So that'll be a nice improvement. Let's see, 4.1C is correct denotion. Let's see, we are seeking an additional 4% of reimbursement from the MSBA by aiming for a high-efficiency green school program grant. So that's built into this as well, which will be nice. And then there's the next meeting is April 15th to approve the full submission document. I mean, we voted on the plan we want, but now we have to vote to approve the document to go in for the PSR.
So I have a question.
Yes.
I know we've gotten emails of community members who have suggested, why aren't we getting solar panels? Is this something we can consider on Kittredge?
Yeah, I think that option would be open. It hasn't been, not to my knowledge, I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I haven't heard that, but that's absolutely something that we consider with new construction. Oh, those options are there.
Yeah, I know we've had some community members reach out about that.
Yep.
Why aren't we doing this on the schools? So maybe this is a good opportunity to test one out.
Yeah, it would be, and I can bring that up. I will bring that up, actually, at the next committee meeting, that we should investigate that potential. I do know one thing, that if we do that, it would have to be on the roof.
Right.
There wouldn't be any space on the ground for it, but.
I've seen them done in parking lots.
Oh, no, you could. It's not that you couldn't. It would be a shame. There's not a lot of free space in that piece
No,
of
they
property.
lift them up.
They're above
Oh,
the
to make
yeah, you
like
park under
shades.
'em.
Oh, that would be fine.
It's like
Yeah.
carports.
It's like a
Yeah,
carport.
yeah,
it's like a
yeah.
carport.
So then it's nice because then you have some covered parking.
Yeah, yeah. So that's certainly a possibility. Yeah. That's it.
If you're ever unfortunate enough to have to park at the very top of Logan in the parking garage, got the solar panels
Yep,
up there.
solar panels right there.
All right, we are going to open it up for the next 10 minutes for public comment. Same, direct any comments to the chair, 3 minutes, and state your name and address. I'll open that up.
So, it sounds like there were no other candidates considered for the assistant superintendent position. Is that accurate?
It's not a back and forth question and answer, unfortunately.
I understand, but, well, I'll take the silence to mean that there weren't. And I think that the culture of appointing these positions, these important positions, without considering other candidates is disappointing. And whether or not it's the right candidate, it doesn't really matter. It's just a bad decision to appoint someone without considering other candidates. And the superintendent said that she couldn't think of anyone else that would be better fit for the position, but how could you do that if you don't talk to anybody else about it? So I think that it's important that this school committee start going through the process of actually posting positions and talking to other candidates before deciding who gets the job.
Hi, everybody, Jeff Arciero, 93 Wintergreen Drive. Basically, I just wanted to kind of voice my concern with some of the messaging or maybe some of the comments that I think have come out somewhat in this committee and then other committees that have been talking about the budget now that we have a final number. And I think some of it has turned to, a comment of this is now a 10% increase in the budget from last year, right? And while that might be factually true, I think it is pretty clear, given the fact that, through the good work and the investigations into where money is going, there's really been no accusations of fraud or waste can be objective, but really no big discussions about a lot of fraud or waste found, and really it seems to be more about salaries we had, maybe loss of revenue and those types of things. So I think, to say that we have now passed a budget that is 10% bigger than last year, when last year was pretty clearly a budget that did not meet the expectations or the needs that we had at the time, in some ways is a defense mechanism. And I just think that, especially given the slide today about the personnel and cuts that are going to happen, which ultimately now, when we looked at the blue budget, and I know these were all based on estimates at the time, but the blue budget, I think, where we have a budget higher than that now, but the blue budget had cuts at like 34 teachers, right? And we are passing, you ultimately approved the budget $1 million higher than that, and now we're at 40 cuts too. So again, even from a public perspective, if there's someone coming to a town meeting for the first time, not involved in these conversations throughout, to be told that, hey, we have passed a budget that is 10% bigger than last year. Don't look at this slide though, because it speaks to the 40 teachers that we're cutting, the 40 plus teacher assistants that we have to move around, and not speaking to aides. And I also don't think it frankly does a lot of favors to Ms. Lathrop and her administration, because again, a member from the public who has not been involved in these discussions and been around, and again, here's the thought that 10% increase, 40 teachers being cut, immediate thought would have to go to, who is the superintendent and what is the problem there? And I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, based on public, if you weren't involved in these conversations. And I think it's also important to continue the conversation about, I know many of you spoke about the fact that you supported a higher budget. Sorry, a couple more minutes? Is that not a couple more minutes, but.
You can wrap it up.
Yeah, so I know a number of you spoke about you want to support a higher budget, and I think it's important for us to continue to push or communicate the data and the narrative that we still are underfunded in education in North Andover. Again, the DESE numbers support that. The ones that I've looked up, at least, I know the town manager at the finance committee the other day brought up some per capita expenditures on education that seem to put us average. Again, I would love for us to be able to have counterpoints to that or data to back it up, again, that I've seen on DESE that do point out that we are not significantly, but underfunding the schools, and it seems to be a town-wide problem. Actually, that the town manager said that all government funding in North Andover seems to be short these days. So that's all. I just wanted to communicate, kind of my concern about speaking about a 10% increase, given all the cuts, and continuing to push that we need more money eventually, 27 and beyond. Thanks.
Madam Chairman, I know we don't normally respond, but I would like to make a comment about the appointment of Ms. Andos, that if it's not appropriate, I won't, but if it is.
I don't think a back and forth at this time is appropriate. I mean,
Well,
if you would like to send out an email, I think that's perfectly appropriate. All right, our next meeting is going to be Thursday, April 3rd. It's going to be back here at the Senior Center.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Moskovich?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Lemire?
Yes.
And I vote yes, we are adjourned.